It's time for the Margin Matters Minute with Money Man Jason Brown.
All right, everybody. Today I am at the FinCon 22 conference here in sunny Orlando, Florida. And I thought, what a cool place to talk to all the money nerds. This is the place where the money nerds unite. There's about 2,000 money nerds here at this conference, so I thought it would be a cool opportunity to ask people their best money advice and their worst money advice. So let's go see what they have to say.
Hey guys, this is Jay Money, budgetsaresexy.com. One of the pieces of advice I like to give is my favorite is to always track your net worth. Always know what assets you have, debt, and the difference is your net worth number. And that to me changed my mind, changed my money, knowing what that is and knowing what I could work towards, and every month tracking it and seeing it hopefully go up if I'm doing a good job. But it's also nice because if you're working on either of the equations, savings it tracks, and even if you're paying off debt, it'll still show up in that number. So that to me is the number one thing I advise everyone to do. Even if you don't want to budget, I'm a budgeting guy and I have a budgeting shirt on. Net worth is a lot easier to do and quicker, so maybe start there if you don't even care about budgeting. One of the pieces of advice I hate hearing, because it's just, they put it everywhere, is to own a home. It's totally cool if you want to own a home and if that works with you, but a lot of people don't. They don't have the money, they don't have the resources, and it's a lot of work and lifestyle too. If you like to float, if you like freedom, owning a home takes a lot of stuff, a lot of maintenance, a lot more money. So don't just blindly do something because everyone's telling you that's the next step. Do it because you actually want to do it.
All right, I am Joel from the How to Money podcast.
And I am Matt, and we are giving you our best and worst financial advice. The best advice is always make sure to go for a run right before you do an interview, in particular on video.
Yeah, you look amazing.
What's your? You smell fresh. What's your best advice?
I'm going to give a real one. Okay, so my best money advice is to start small and start early, because the problem is most people think that it takes a lot of money to invest.
Ooh,
the reality is you make money by investing, so you can start with even $5. Get going.
My best advice is going to be do what you love, asterisk. If you can't identify what it is that you're passionate about, it's going to be hard to maintain that momentum and that energy long after you've achieved some sort of sense of financial freedom. My worst advice is do what you love, because
two sides of the same coin.
The others, it's a double-edged sword. Oftentimes folks are just focusing on their passions and they're not paying attention to the market, what people need to hear. So keep that in mind.
Okay, my worst piece of financial advice is to join up with a multi-level marketing company, because something like 99.6% of people who sign up for an MLM lose money. They ruin relationships in the process. It's even worse than investing all your money in crypto. So yeah, don't sign up for an MLM.
We are How to Money podcast. Check us out.
Hey, I'm Jason Brown.
What a great name you have.
From thebrownreport.com, and the best financial advice that I've ever gotten is that your money can work harder for you than you can work for it. And when you think about it, your money doesn't get sick, it doesn't take vacations, doesn't need time off. The worst financial advice that I've gotten is that options are risky. But if you think about it, if you invest in the stock market and you don't use options, the only thing you know is to buy low and sell high. What happens when the market goes sideways and down? Well, options can help you make money when the market is not going up, but when it's going sideways and down. So you'll have an opportunity to make money in all three ways that the market can move.
Yeah, we are here at FinCon 2022. My name is Barbara Sloan. I am the author of Tips, the life-changing guide to financial freedom for waitresses, bartenders, strippers, and all other service industry professionals. The best financial advice I have is that shame is not welcome at your personal finance party. You should never feel shame about the things that you want. You should include things in your budget that are things that you actually want, not things you think you should want. The worst financial advice I've ever received was that I needed $6 million to retire. I don't need $6 million to retire. So check out my book, Tipped Finance, at Tipped Finance on the socials, and stick with Jason.
Hi, I'm Dylin Redling, and this is my wife, Allison. We have a website called Retire by 45, and we're also authors. We just have written 3 books in the last 2 years, and our newest one is Personal Finance Workbook for Beginners. And we're going to talk about our best and worst money advice that we've ever gotten. So I'll start. My best advice that I got was actually from my wife. And this was back in the 90s when I was in my 20s. That's when we first met. We were working as servers in a restaurant. And I used to just treat my money like I had no respect for it whatsoever. Allison was aghast when she saw that. And she taught me a very simple lesson, which was just to fold my money nice and neatly, put it in my wallet, and in order, and I call it the wallet lesson. And ever since that little lesson, I've always thought about treating my money with more respect and thoughtfulness, and it's carried on like that even when I've made much more money throughout my life. I've always been able to be more considerate and respectful with my money.
And my best money advice was, someone told me, and I can't remember who, was to make things automatic. So when we were younger and working, we had we had companies who provided us with 401ks, and we set it up so that the company would take out money from our paycheck on every paycheck and invest it into our 401k, and we would then figure out which funds to put it into. But come rain or shine, no matter what was going on in the market, money was coming out of our paycheck or coming out of my paycheck and going into my retirement account. And so even when the market was down, that same amount of money was coming out of my paycheck. And eventually my 401k grew. Even after the 2008 crash, it came back up. And so I never touched that money. And it came to about a six-figure amount by the end of it. And I didn't do a thing.
Worst money advice. So one thing that they always tell you, which is typically good advice, is to diversify your investments. The problem was, when I was younger, I took that to the extreme. And so when I first started my 401k in my late 20s, I thought diversification meant like putting a little bit into every single fund that was available to invest in. And so I ended up investing in things that made no sense. And when you looked at the entire portfolio, it did not work together whatsoever. And so later in life, I had a much better diversification plan. But those early days were just a hot mess.
Speaking of hot messes, I was told that if I invested in an IPO, it would just grow money and create magic. And so I worked for a restaurant company, and they were going public, and I thought, okay, well, I've got $2,000 to spare, I'm going to invest it, and I'm going to become rich. And yeah, that company went bankrupt about a year later, and I lost all of my money. So I learned from that I need to do more research before I actually invest my money, so that the money that I spent a lot of time and blood, sweat, and tears to make doesn't go to waste. So that's my worst money tip.
Hi, I'm David Delisle. I'm here at FinCon. I'm an author of a children's book, a graphic novel that teaches kids about money. Best investment advice: figure out first why you want the money in the first place. If you don't know the why, it doesn't matter how much you have, you'll always keep chasing more. So figure out why you want the money, what is your awesome stuff. And then the worst investment advice: anytime someone tells you about a stock or any investment and they don't give you a timeline or dates on that, that is the worst investment advice. Because if you're talking about a stock, if you're gonna buy it and hold it for 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, 30 years, that makes a huge difference. And if you don't know the timelines, you don't know if it's a good investment.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Clifton Corbin. I'm the author of Your Kids, Their Money. The best money advice I can give anyone, especially young people: focus on wealth creation. Wealth creation is what will get you to financial independence. Focus on it early, give yourself the time to get there. The worst money advice I can give you is just focusing on money. Life is more than money. Life is about giving back, and it's about taking care of yourself and taking care of the people in your world. So make sure, even though you're focusing on that financial independence, you keep focusing on the people in your world.
Aloha, I'm Doug Nordman of the Military Guide here at FinCon 22, where we've spent the last 3 days creating content on the scene, impromptu, unscripted. And I'm here this morning with Jason Brown, who wants to know the best and the worst financial advice that I've ever heard. Now, I've got an extensive military background, but I will tell you that the best advice I've ever heard, despite my military experience, is to avoid lifestyle expansion. If you know how to live at one level and you get a raise or a promotion, you're going to get a lot more money dumped on you. And the whole idea is to use most of that money to fuel your financial independence. Don't get me wrong, go out and have a party, give yourself a victory lap, but try to save 80% of every pay raise, every promotion you get, and put that straight toward your financial freedom. The worst advice I've ever had is you'll always have a car paid up. Now, we all know here at FinCon that the worst you'll ever do is buy a car every decade. And maybe you'll buy it new, maybe you'll buy it used, that's my preference. But the whole point is to buy the car that will last you for a decade that you can drive into the ground. So, from FinCon 22, I wish you could be here with us to see all this happening live on scene, but this is the next best thing. Maybe we'll see you at FinCon 23.
What's up, guys? I'm Taylor Sohns. This is my brother and co-founder, Brett Sohns. We're here at FinCon in Orlando. We represent Life Goal Investments. We started this company about a year ago. We are here to bring ultra high net worth investing that used to be for the $1 million plus clients down to anybody that has a Schwab account, a TD Ameritrade account, whatever it is, one ticker symbol. That's what we do, make things simple for investing. And what we want to talk about is just the best and worst advice. I'll let him do the worst. He's better at that. And then I'll come at you with the best advice that we've heard from a money standpoint. So Brett, give him the worst advice you've ever heard.
All right. Thank you. Here at FinCon, super excited to be in front of the group here. So again, my name is Brett Sohns. I spent prior to Taylor and I launching this company, I spent 15 years working for the old school Wall Street companies that have the ultra deep pockets. We're talking those old 65-year-old dudes that we all envision, the fat cat bankers, right? So worst investment advice I ever got or I was involved in. So $1 million dinner. One dinner cost one of my old managers $1 million. How does a dinner cost somebody $1 million? So this was just before the crash in 2008 and 2009 in the stock market. And my boss at that time went to dinner with his boss. And his boss, while they were sitting there at dinner, explained to him that real wealth is created in making huge bets, huge concentrated bets on one individual stock, right? And this happened to be a Wall Street bank that individual stock position was in. So my boss left the meeting thinking, his boss has been around forever. He knows I'm gonna stick with it. And he happened to have thousands and thousands of shares of one of these Wall Street banks. So we all know what happened, right? The stock price went from, $125 a share down to $10 a share. That advice that my boss received at that dinner cost him over $1 million. Over $1 million of his personal net worth. So what is the moral of the story? Stay diversified. Don't take big swings at concentrated positions. And that's exactly why we launched Life Goal Investments, is to bring a diversified, well-constructed portfolio to people for $10 a share, available on any platform, from Robinhood, to even buying it through a financial advisor. So that's the story. We thought that was pretty relevant for today.
Holy smokes, $1 million at dinner? I can't imagine. I might have a heart attack if that happened to me. So the best advice that I've ever been given, and this is investing, this might just be life and advice in general, is you have to follow your gut when you're buying something, and you have to have a good reason for purchasing whatever it is you're purchasing. A really good example these days is something like the crypto market. If you are a crypto investor, there's nothing against that, but if you're a crypto investor that can't explain exactly what crypto is and how it generates revenue and how it's going to be meaningful and differentiating in the future, you cannot invest it. You need to know everything that you're investing in, and it's not just crypto. That's just an easy example. If you're buying an individual stock, you better darn well know what your thesis is on that stock playing out, what's going to drive revenues down the long run and drive that stock price up. And if you don't have the answers to those, or don't want to source the answers to those, you need to stay diversified, and that's, again, the catalyst for us launching Life Goal Investments.
Hi everyone, my name is Maya Corbic. I'm a CPA and I'm the founder of Teach Kids Money. What I do is actually help parents raise financially savvy kids, and I also help kids learn about money. The best advice that I ever received, or the best thing that I heard about money, had to do with the creation of passive income. This was not something that I learned as I was growing up, because I learned the traditional thing that we have to go to school, get our degree, and then work 9 to 5, essentially exchange our time for money. So for me, it was like this whole new world opened up when I learned about passive income. One of the books that really changed my life was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And then from there, I kind of started reading everything I possibly could about passive income, not only investing in stock market and real estate, but also creative passive streams of income, like creating my own digital products and selling them. And one of my favorite things is when I actually receive an email in the morning when I wake up and I see that I actually made money from some of the passive income. So I am actually trying to teach this to my own children. I have 2 teenagers, and I love teaching this to my students. So the worst thing that I have heard about money, or I would say it's not necessarily the worst thing I've heard about money. It's more that something that's widely accepted in our society, and it's the presence of debt. That it's okay to have debt. A lot of us assume that it's okay to have debt to go to school, or a lot of us think it's okay to have debt because, we want to drive the latest cars. Debt, in my opinion, is okay when we take it on in order to create more income or increase our net worth. But otherwise, my advice to my kids and my students is not to take it on, or if we do take it on, to pay it off as quickly as possible, to have a debt repayment plan, to refinance it to get the lowest possible rate. But if we do also have it, like if we can just pay it off in full, for example, was for credit cards, pay it off at the end of the month so that we're not incurring any interest charges, which unfortunately a lot of people think is the norm. That it's okay to pay off the minimum payment only, and then pay the interest on the rest. So
my name's Jack Allweil. I'm a host on the Brothers on Books podcast. The greatest piece of financial advice I've received is it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. There's a reason Albert Einstein called it the 8th wonder of the world. So study compound interest, and those who understand it earn it, and those who don't pay it. So think long term, and if you devote time to understanding uninterrupted compound interest, it won't disappoint you. And the worst piece of advice, I don't know if it's really advice, but it's just this notion that you work so hard so you can go and spend it. So it's kind of encouraging that life and style creep, that life and style inflation. And if you just keep spending more money, you'll never create that buffer of freedom for yourself.
All right, there you have it, folks. A lot of very interesting and entertaining thoughts about money from all the money nerds here at FinCon 22 in Orlando, Florida. I hope you learned something from that, because I know I certainly did. So until next time, this is Jason Brown from very hot, very muggy, and very rainy Orlando, Florida. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you down the road.